ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। मम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। श्रीमद् भागवतम कैंटो 7 चैप्टर 2 वर्स 20। श्री हिरण्यकशिपुरुवाच अम्बाम्बहे वधूपुत्रा वीरं मार्हत शोचितुं रिपोरभिमुखे श्लाघ्यः शूराणां वध ईप्सितः। Hiranyakashipu said, "My dear mother, sister-in-law, and nephews, you should not lament for the death of the great hero, for a hero's death in front of his enemy is glorious and desirable. Bhutanamiha samvasah prapayam prapayam iva suvrute daivenaikartranitanam unnitanam swakarmabhihi." My dear mother, in a restaurant or place for drinking cold water, many travelers are brought together, and after drinking water, they continue to their respective destinations. Similarly, living entities join together in a family, and later, as a result of their own actions, they are led apart to their destinations. Very, very important to understand this. While this might be easy to understand, when somebody comes to a restaurant or a place for drinking water. Now, restaurant also. So first is a place for drinking water, where they'll drink water and then leave immediately. In a restaurant, maybe they might sit for a little more time. And in a family, more time. That's all. But in comparison to eternal time, this family life is also fleeting, flickering. Right? So we should understand, just like we are not too attached to people who come in a restaurant and speak to us or whatever. Similarly, those who are in a family, they are just just a fleeting, temporary association, um, mostly for exchanging our karma phala. That's all. Right? And as a result of our karma, we are all led apart to our destinations. Prakrite kriyamani gunai karmani sarvashah ankara vimoodatmakartaham iti manyate. The bewildered soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself the doer, which are in actuality carried out by nature. So the Atma is not doing anything, actually, it's all being done by nature. All living entities are exactly according to the directions of Prakriti, material nature, because in the material world we are fully under a higher control. All living entities in this world have come here only because they wanted to be equal to Krishna in enjoyment, and have thus been sent here to be conditioned by material nature in different degrees. So they came here because we wanted to be equal to Krishna in enjoyment. So we have been sent here conditioned by material nature, and we are come here and we become conditioned by material nature. In the material world, a so-called family is a combination of several persons in one home to fulfill the terms of their imprisonment. That's all. Family is to fulfill the terms of our imprisonment. As criminal prisoners scatter as soon as their terms are over and they are released, all of us who have temporarily assembled as family members will continue to our respective destinations. Another example given is that the family members are like straws carried together by the waves of a river. Sometimes such straws mix together in whirlpools and later dispersed again by the same waves. They float alone in the water. Although Hiranyakashipu was a demon, he had Vedic knowledge and understanding. Thus, the advice given to his family members was quite sound. Demons are considered highly elevated in knowledge, but because they do not use their good intelligence for the service of the Lord, they're called demons. So it's not that demons don't have knowledge. They have knowledge. They're highly elevated in knowledge. But they don't want to use their intelligence for the service of the Lord. Or in other words, they don't want to apply that knowledge in real life. So they have gnana, but they don't have vijnana. So they're called demons. The demigods, however, act very intelligently to satisfy the personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam says, Satapum vidvira shrestha varnashama vibhagasha svanushtitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. Highest perfection one can achieve by discharging his prescribed duties according to caste divisions and orders of life is to please the Lord Hari. So the whole idea of varnashrama is samsiddhir haritoshanam. Haritoshanam is to please Hari. To become a demigod or to become godly, whatever one's occupation, one must satisfy the Supreme Person of God. So this is the key. Nityatma vyaya shuddha sarvaga sarvavitparaha datte sav atmano lingam ayaya visrajan gunan. Please remember, all this is being spoken by Hiranyakashipu. The spirit soul has no death, for he is eternal and inexhaustible. Being free from material contamination, he can go anywhere in the material or spiritual worlds. He is fully aware of and completely different from the material body. But because of being misled by misuse of his slight independence, he is obliged to accept subtle and gross bodies created by material energy and thus be subjected to so-called material happiness and distress. So he is saying we are Atma and we are completely different from the body. But because of misuse of independence, misuse of slight independence, he is obliged to accept these gross and spiritual bodies. And thus being subjected to so-called material happiness and distress. Therefore, no one should lament for the passing of the spirit soul from the body. So he's saying Atma, body, temporary body, we've got to experience happiness and distress because of our misuse of the slight independence we have. Hiranyakashipu very intelligently described the position of the soul. The soul is never the body, but is always completely different from the body. Being eternal and inexhaustible, the soul has no death. But when the same pure soul desires to enjoy the material world independently, he is placed under the conditions of material nature and must therefore accept a certain type of body and suffer the pains and pleasures thereof. Soul has no death, soul has no suffering. But because we desire to enjoy this material world, we are experiencing something like suffering. This is also described by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, Karanam Guna Sangosya Sadasat Yonik Janmasu. The living entity is born in different families or species of life because of being infected by the modes of material nature. When conditioned by material nature, the living entity must accept a certain type of body which is offered by nature under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Yantra Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hriddesha Arjuna Tishtari Brahmayan Sarvabhutani Yantra Rudani Maya. Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart and is directing the wanderings of the living entities. We are wandering, aimlessly wandering. So we are like seated on a machine made of material energy. So this body is a machine made of material energy. The body is just like a machine, and according to the living entity's karma, is offered a particular type of machine to move here and there, wander under the control of material nature. This continues until he surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mameva ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. Until he surrenders, the conditioned soul is carried from one life to life by the arrangement of material nature. So the key is that we have to surrender. So he knew. Hiranyakashipu is in clear knowledge. यताम्भस प्रचलता तरवोऽपि चला इव चक्षुषा भ्राम्यमाणेन दृश्यते चलतीव भूः. Because of the movements of the water, the trees on the bank of a river, when reflected on the water, because of the movements of the water, the trees on the bank of a river, when reflected on the water, seem to move. Similarly, when the eyes move because of some mental derangement, the land appears to move also. Sometimes, because of mental derangement, the land appears to be moving. A drunkard, for example, or a person with heart disease sometimes feels that the land is moving. Similarly, the reflections of trees in a flowing river also appear to move. These are the actions of Maya. Actually, the living entity does not move. Sthanur achaloyam. The living entity does not take birth or accept death, but because of the transient, subtle, and gross bodies, the living entity appears to move from one place to another or be dead and gone forever. Jagadananda Pandit says, Pishachi paile yena mati channa hoy, Maya grasta jiver hoy se bhava uday. According to this statement from the Prema Vivarta, when a living entity is conditioned by material nature, he is exactly like a person haunted by a ghost. One should therefore understand the fixed position of the spirit soul and how he is carried away by the waves of material nature to different bodies and different situations under lamentation and hankering. And it's all being done by material nature according to our karma. One achieves the success of life when he understands the constitutional position of his self and is undisturbed by the conditions created by material nature. Prakriti kriyanani gunai karmani sarvasha. So this is the achieve success in life, meaning this is mukti. When one understands that we are Atma and remain undisturbed in material conditions. This is mukti and this is also a success in life. Because only when we come to this stage, we will get Krishna Bhakti. So it's all an illusion, Maya. Evam gunairbrahmyamane manasya vikalaha puman yati tat samyatam bhadre hyalingo lingavaniva. In the same way, O my gentle mother, when the mind is agitated by the movements of the modes of nature, the living entity, although freed from all different phases of the subtle and gross bodies, thinks that he has changed from one condition to other. So, mind agitated by material nature, mind influenced by material nature. So, we think that we are temporary, we are suffering, we have this, we are that. Just all because of being conditioned by material nature. यस्यात्मबुद्धि कुणपेत्री धातु के स्वधि कलत्रादिषु भौम इज्जदीहि यतीर्थबुद्धि सलिलेन कर्षिच्छित् जनेष्व विघ्नेषु स एव घोखरः. A human being who identifies the body made of three elements. Kunape tri dhatuke, a bag made of three elements. Swadhi, Atma Buddhi, thinks that he is this bag, thinks that he is the byproducts of the body to be his kinsman, then who considers land of his birth worshipable, goes to a place of pilgrimage simply to bathe rather than to meet men of transcendental knowledge there, is to be considered like a cow or an ass. Although Hiranyakashipu was a great demon, he was not as foolish as the population of the modern world. This is important. And that is, modern world people are more foolish. Hiranyakashipu had clear knowledge of the spirit soul in the subtle and gross bodies. But now we are so degraded that everyone, including the exalted scientists, philosophers, and other leaders, is under the bodily conception of life, which is condemned in the Shastras. Saiva go kharaha, such persons are nothing but cows and asses. Hiranyakashipu advised his family members that although the gross body of his brother Hiranyaksha was dead and they were aggrieved because of this, they should not lament for the great soul of Hiranyaksha who had already attained his next destination. Atma, the spirit soul, is always unchanged. We are spirit souls, but when carried away by mental activities, manodharma, we suffer from so-called material conditions of life. So this is all manodharma. Mental, everything is in the mind. Prabhupada is saying this generally happens to non-devotees. Harava bhaktasya kuto mahad gunaha. Non-devotees may possess exalted material qualities, but because they're foolish, they have no good qualifications. The designations of the conditioned soul in the material world are decorations of the dead body. Conditioned soul has no information of the spirit and its exalted existence beyond the effects of material condition. So, important thing is we know all this, but we also have to try to live on that platform, live practically on that platform. एषात्म विपर्यासो ह्यलिङ्गे लिङ्गभावना एष प्रिया प्रियैर्योगो वियोग कर्म संसृतिः सम्भवश्च विनाशश्च शोकश्च विविध स्मृतः अविवेकश्च चिन्ता च विवेकां स्मृतिरेव च. In his bewildered state, the living entity accepting the body and mind to be self considers some people to be his kinsmen and others to be outsiders, no, which is what he's also doing. Hiranyakashipu is also doing this. He considered Hiranyaksha his kinsman and Vishnu as outsider or even enemy. Because of this misconception, he suffers. See, again, this showing that just knowledge is useless. It has to be put into practice. Indeed, the accumulation of such concocted material ideas is the cause of suffering and so-called happiness in the material world. These are all concocted material ideas that somebody is mine, somebody is not mine, somebody is good, somebody is bad. Because all this is in relationship with the body. The conditioned soul, thus situated, must take birth in different species and work in various types of consciousness, thus creating new bodies. This continued material life is called samsara. Birth, death, lamentation, foolishness, and anxiety are due to such material considerations. Birth, death, okay. Lamentation, foolishness, anxiety, okay. Foolishness also okay. Lamentation, anxiety are due to material considerations. Thus, we sometimes come to a proper understanding and sometimes fall again to a wrong conception of life. Because of foolishness, we come to a wrong conception of life. अत्राप्युदाहरन्तीमम् इतिहासं पुरातनं यमस्य प्रेतबन्धूनां संवादं तं निबोधता. In this regard, an example is given from an old history. This involves a discourse between Yamaraja and the friends of a dead person. Please hear it attentively. So he is also quoting from Shastra. The words itihasam puratanam mean an old history. The Puranas are not chronologically decoded, but the incidents mentioned in the Puranas are actual histories of bygone ages. Srimad Bhagavatam is the Mahapurana, the essence of all the Puranas. The Mayavadi scholars do not accept the Puranas, but Srila Madhvacharya and all other authorities accept them as authoritative histories. Itihasa and Purana. They're all itihasas of the world. उशीनर्रेष्वभूद्राजा सुयज्ञ इति विश्रुतः सपत्नेर्निहतो युद्धे ज्ञातयस्तम् उपासता. In the state known as Ushinara, there was a celebrated king named Suyagna. When the king was killed in the battle by his enemies, his kinsmen sat down around the dead body and began to lament the death of their friend. Vishirna Ratna Kavacham Vibhrashtabharana Swajam Shara Nirbhinna Hridayam Shayanam Asrugavilam Prakirna Kesham Svastaksham Rabhasadashtadachadam Rajakuntha Mukhambojam Chinnayudha Bhujam Mrudhe Ushinarendram Vidhina Tatha Kritam Patim Mahishyaha Prasamikshya Dukhitaha Atasmanatheti Kareruro Bhrisham Gnantyo Muhustatpadayorupapatam Papatan. His golden, bejeweled armor smashed, his ornaments and garlands fallen from their places, his hair scattered, and his eyes lusterless. The slain king lay on the battlefield, his entire body smeared with blood, his heart pierced by the arrows of the enemy. When he died, he had wanted to show his prowess, and thus he had bitten his lips, and his teeth remained in that position. His beautiful lotus like face was now black and covered with dust from the battlefield. His arms, with his sword and other weapons, were cut and broken. When the queens of the king of Ushinara saw their husband lying in that position, they began crying, "O Lord, now that you have been killed, we also have been killed." Repeating these words again and again, they fell down, pounding their breasts at the feet of the dead king. Hmm. Stated here, the dead king, while fighting in anger, bit his lips to show his prowess, but nonetheless he was killed by providence. This proves that we are controlled by our authorities, our personal power or endeavor is not always supreme. We must therefore accept the position offered to us by the order of the Supreme. रुदत्यौच्चैर्दयिताङ्घ्रिपङ्कजं शिञ्चन्त्य अश्रये कुचकुङ्कुमारुणैः विस्तरस्तकेशाभरणाः शुचं नृणां सृजन्त्याक्रन्दनया विलेपिरे. As the queens loudly cried, their tears glided down their breasts, becoming reddened by kunkuma powder, and fell upon the lotus feet of their husband. Their hair became disarrayed, their ornaments fell, and in a way that evoked sympathy from the hearts of others, the queens began lamenting their husband's death. Yeah, we're thinking, yeah, this is normal. Aho vidhatra karunen asna prabho bhavan pranito dirgagocharam dasham ushi naranam asi vrittidha pura krutodhuna yena shucham vivardhanaha. O Lord, you have now been removed by cruel providence to a state beyond our sight. You had previously sustained the livelihood of the inhabitants of Ushinara, and thus they were happy. But your condition now is the cause of their unhappiness. त्वया कृतघ्नेन वयं महीपते कथं विनाश्याम सुहृत्तमेन ते तत्रानुयानं तव वीरपादयोः शुश्रूषतीनां दिश यत्र यास्यसि. O king, O hero, you are a very grateful husband and the most sincere friend of all of us. How shall we exist without you? O hero, wherever you are going, please direct us there so that we may follow in your footsteps and engage again in your service. Let us go along with you. Formerly, a Kshatriya king was generally the husband of many wives, and after the death of the king, especially in the battlefield, all the queens would agree to accept Sahamarana. Maharana or Marana, okay. Dying with the husband who was their life. When Pandu, the father of Pandavas, died, his two wives, namely the mother of Yudhishthira, Bhima, and Arjuna, and the mother of Nakula and Sahadeva, Kunti and Madri, were both ready to die in the fire with their husband. Later, after a compromise was arranged, Kunti stayed alive to care for the little children, and the other wife, Madri, was allowed to die with her husband. This system of Sahamarana continued in India even until the time of British rule, but later it was discouraged, since the attitude of wives gradually changed with the advancement of Kali Yuga. Thus, the system of Sahamarana has practically been abolished. Nevertheless, within the past 50 years, I have seen the wife of a medical practitioner voluntarily accept death immediately when her husband died. Both the husband and wife were taken in procession in the mourning cart. Such intense love of a chaste wife for her husband is a special case. Previously, that was what it was. And they're lamenting that, how can we live without you? एवं विलपतीनां वै परिगृह्य मृतं पतिम् अनिच्छतीनां निर्हारम् अर्कोस्तं संन्यवर्तत. The time was appropriate for the body to be burned, but the queens, not allowing it to be taken away, continued lamenting for the dead body which they kept on their laps. In the meantime, the sun completed its movements for setting in the west. According to Vedic system, if a person dies during the daytime, it is customary for his funeral to be performed before the sun sets, regardless of whether he is burned or buried. And if he dies at night, the funeral must be completed before the next sunrise. Wow, that's tough. Apparently, the queens continued lamenting for the dead body, the lump of matter, and would not allow it to be taken away for burning. This illustrates the strong grip of illusion among foolish persons who consider the body the self. Women are generally considered less intelligent. Because of ignorance only, the queens thought of the dead body as their husband, and somehow or other thought that if the body were kept, their husband would remain with them. Such a conception of the self is certainly for Gokhara. We have actually seen that sometimes when a cow's calf has died, the milkman cheats the cow by presenting before her the dead body of her calf. Thus, the cow who would not otherwise allow milking licks the dead body of the calf and allows herself to be milked. This substantiates this description of the Shastras that a foolish man in the body concept of life is like a cow. Not only do foolish men and women consider the body the self, but we have seen that the dead body of a so called yogi was kept for days by his disciples who thought that their guru was in samadhi. When decomposition began and a bad smell unfortunately began to overwhelm the yogic power, the disciples allowed the dead body of the so called yogi to be burnt. Thus, the bodily concept of life is extremely strong among foolish persons who are compared to cows and asses. Nowadays, great scientists are trying to freeze dead bodies so that in the future these frozen bodies may again be brought to life. The incident narrated by Hiranyakashipu from history must have taken place millions of years ago because Hiranyakashipu lived millions of years ago and was even then quoting from history. Thus, the incident occurred before Hiranyakashipu's lifetime, but the same ignorance in the bodily concept of life is still prevalent, not only among laymen but even among scientists who think they will be able to revive frozen corpses. Of course, before there was still a class of men who were in knowledge, right? At least twice born. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishyas used to be twice born and they used to have all this knowledge. Only the Shudras used to be in ignorance. That too, by the influence of Brahmana, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, they would be in knowledge also by their association. And then here we are seeing a demon, Hiranyakashipu is in knowledge. But our fallen condition is so badly fallen that even big brains are all in ignorance. Apparently, the queens did not want to deliver the dead body for burning because they were afraid of dying with the dead body of their husband. Prabhupada is saying, and they were afraid of dying with the dead body of their husband. Tatra, yeah, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So
Hare
we can
Krishna.
understand here that these Roman empires who used to have mummies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those were like, actually they were not so intelligent, and the Vedic civilizations, they were intelligent, that they did not have these practices like preserving the dead bodies and all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
true. Yeah,
we can understand that.
yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you. Tatraha preta bandhunam. Yeah, Kameshwari Mata.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, here the chastity of the wife is being talked about.
Mm-hmm.
When the wives know that the husband is demon, like in the case of Kamsa, also the wives were lamenting. Here also,
Yeah,
wives were lamenting.
yeah.
So when they know that the husband is a demonic person, still they have the same feelings for the husband, the same
Yeah,
chastity, and
yeah, because they can't see that he's a demon, right? So,
okay.
see, they're also in that same boat. Like, what do you think? I mean, of course, see, there are also in history, like, for example, why demons? Even Daksha's wife was very unhappy with the way he treated, he insulted
Mm.
Shiva. So, it's
Mm.
not that wives were completely in alignment with husband all the time, but they were doing their duty as a wife is a role to be played, and they were beautifully doing that role, playing that role. Right, I mean, and even in the life of devotees, right, we see Prabhupada's sister, right, she was such a great devotee and she was still cooking
Mm.
fish for her husband.
Yes,
Right,
Baba.
so see,
Mm.
that is the reason why this Stri Dharma is very, very important. Actually, we don't seem to appreciate much this, we see these things are suffering, etc. But Varnashrama is different. Varnashrama is teaching very differently, right? And that is the system given by the Supreme Lord. But somehow modern, like everything is fallen, gone down. This also, all these aspects of culture are also not there today. But we have to
Mm.
understand, we have to learn, saying that, see, there is a reason. We might not be able to understand and appreciate that reason today in our modern mindset, right? But there was a reason. And it's not that all husbands were demoniac. So that general nature was always there of being submissive, following a qualified husband. And of course, it was also required that the husband be qualified, right?
Mm.
But even in cases where husband was not qualified, still wives went on with their Sri Dharma. See,
Mm.
previously, one thing we have to understand the whole reason or the whole foundation or the mindset of people was to follow dharma. And in Varnashrama dharma, actually, it said that one who follows three dharma, irrespective of their current material conditions, they will achieve heaven. Right? So it was, it was people, yeah, okay, this life, why am I suffering? Because of my previous karma. Okay, but I will still continue to do my duty nicely in this life, so that next life will be better. So their view was always on the next life. And unfortunately, in Kali Yuga, full focus is on this life. But this life is not under our control. That previously people knew. They were in full knowledge of that fact. And they were never used to bother about their current life. They just said, okay, so I've done such a bad karma. Okay, let me suffer. But I will continue to do my duty. But because our mindset has become so material today, and everything is about prayers, right? Immediately, I want happiness. Okay, so let me, do whatever is best for my current condition. But that was not the mindset of previous, not just in this condition, but in this discussion, right? In general, men, women, whatever, right? Their focus was just to do dharma. As we can see in the life of Arjuna, right? I mean, Arjuna saying, is this sinful? Isn't this sinful? He could have just said, it's okay. I don't like. Let me just quit the battle. And Krishna is saying, no, it is adharma. Do your duty. And Arjuna said, okay, karishya vachanam tava. So the whole premise in Vedic culture was dharma. So we have to understand that. And it's tough to accept, but we should. It's for our good. And for devotees, anyway, the mindset is very, very different. It is just to develop the dependence on Krishna. All difficult situations are just ways by which we can become more dearer to Krishna, more dependent on Krishna. But yeah, we can't. When we hear it, we feel okay, fine, we'll do. Again, we go into our normal life. Then again, we go through the same situations. Then again, we go down in our consciousness. So, which is why we have to keep hearing this repeatedly till it becomes fixed in our consciousness. Then we'll remain stable. Only then we can come to Nishta. Nishta actually is a state of, is a state where we are fixed in our devotion, unaffected by material things, mentally, physically, nothing. Just go on. That's all. No time for all these things. Okay, fine. I have to do my duty. I will do whatever is happening from that. It's okay. It's up to the Lord, whatever He wants to do. That is mukti.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Okay. Anything else? Okay, let's read this one verse. Tatraha preta bandhunam ashrutya paridevitam ahatan balako bhutva yamah swayam upagata. While the queens were lamenting for the dead body of the king, their loud cries were heard even from the abode of Yamaraja. Assuming the body of a boy, Yamaraja personally approached the relatives of the dead body and advised them as follows. So see here, conversation within conversation. First of all, Suta Goswami talking to sages of Naimisharanya. He's talking about Shukadeva Goswami talking to Parikshit Maharaj. Then Shukadeva Goswami, in that there is this conversation of Yudhishthira and Narada. And then in that Yudhishthira and Narada, there is Hiranyakashipu and all his relatives. And in that, now there is going to be one more conversation, which is Yamaraja and the relatives of the dead person. So 6 conversations, conversation inside and a conversation. Sometimes the living entity is forced to give up his body and enter another one according to the judgment of Yamaraja. It is difficult, however, for the conditioned soul to enter another body unless the present dead body is annihilated through cremation or some other means. So this is important, right? So that is why as soon as person dies, there is, within some limited time, like Shastra is saying, within the next sunrise or sunset. Like if somebody is passed away during the day before sunset, if somebody is passed away in the night before the next sunrise, because there will already be time fixed for that soul to enter another body, but it cannot enter unless cremation or whatever, the present body is annihilated, is destroyed. So this is also interesting. Till then, the Atma is somewhat like can still be there around, because it's not got another body. So better to do these acts at the earliest. The living being has attachment for the present body and does not want to enter another, and thus in the interim he remains a ghost. Okay, so I was hesitating to say that, but yeah, this is what it is. So he will remain as a ghost. Uh, so till his body is annihilated, cremation or burn the body or whatever, right? So till then he remains a ghost. If a living being who has already left his body has been pious, Yamaraja, just to give him relief, will give him another body. Okay, so he's saying, okay, this is also good. Okay, see, Prabhupada is giving so much knowledge. And if a living being who has already left his body has been pious, so Yamaraja, even though say the body has not been, previous body has not been cremated or annihilated, Yamaraja, just to give him relief because he's become a ghost, and that is a very hellish existence. So he'll give him another body, overruling the Vedic injunction. Since the living being in the body of the king had some attachment to his body, he was hovering as a ghost. And therefore, Yamaraj, as a special consideration, approached the lamenting relatives to instruct them personally. So, see, if somebody has attachment to their body, they'll be hovering around. Okay, so that means that they were not in piety. So, one who is pious is not attached to his body, then Yamaraja will give him some relief. But those who are attached to their body, they don't want any relief because they want to remain in the body. So, they will be hovering as a ghost till the cremation happens. Yamaraj approached them as a child because a child is not restricted but is granted admittance anywhere, even to the palace of a king. Besides this, the child was speaking philosophy. People are very much interested in hearing philosophy when it is spoken by a child. And they will appreciate, oh, see, this child is speaking so nicely, but they will not follow. That is current Kali Yuga. Okay, so I'll stop here. Very, very interesting new pieces of knowledge. Yeah, Prabhu.
Harishna Prabhuji, Prabhuji, this
Yeah,
cremation, like if somebody dies in the night, normally in Garud Puran it is recommended that funeral should be done in the morning time, right? Uh,
I don't know. I'm not aware.
norm,
Prabhupada here is saying that it has to be done before the next sunrise.
Hmm.
Not sure.
Because
I mean, I don't
yeah,
know about these things. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I think that's because we hear that if somebody dies in the night, normally in the night we don't do funeral. So it is
Mm,
happening all the time. But
yeah.
yeah, maybe.
We don't know.
I
Need
think
some clarification whether, doesn't look like it's the next sunrise, as in, because the
yeah,
immediate
next.
sunrise is what is being spoken of. But I don't know. We'll have to ask some Brahmanas who know the
Yeah.
Shastra better. Yeah. But the Prabhupada is saying that, yes. For our clarification, we can ask. Okay. Anything else?
Hare Krishna, bro.
Yeah. How
Hare
come
Krishna,
your
bro.
voice,
Dhanavad.
your voice has changed?
Maybe I'm speaking through a different phone, Prabhu, or maybe I have a little
No,
cold.
TCP Vinod is not speaking. Rohini Madanu is speaking. That's why I asked.
Okay.
Tell me.
I'm using her phone. Actually, she took my phone because it has good audio.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
Prabhu. So,
Mm.
so the question is, Prabhu. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe I heard it somewhere, but is it true that when the soul leaves the body, that it hovers around for 11 days, uh, and then Yamadutas take the soul to to whatever the journey for the next life?
Yeah.
Is
So
it true,
there are.
Prabhu? For 11 days they hover around, or because let's say I mean the soul has left the body and then it is cremated the next day.
Mhm.
So does the soul leave right there, or
Yeah.
does it hover around for 11 days?
Yeah.
Because
So
in that assumption, when my mother passed away, we continuously 11 days we sat together, and then read Bhagavad Gita, so that the
yeah.
soul gets benefited.
No. That is okay. So different things. Now it totally depends on what is the destination of the soul. So
Okay.
if it is like Prabhupada is saying here, if it is pious, then it will get the next body immediately. No waiting, nothing. This whole Shraddha Kriya, the process, like 11 days, 12 days, whatever that is, right? That is being done actually as assistance for those who are going to hell. So we are giving chhatri, chamara, umbrella, foot rest, food, water, everything, because they're en route to Yamaraj. Right till then, they're not they're not a ghost. They get a body, I think, which is called Preta, mostly, if I'm not wrong. And this is all described in Garuda Purana, as I've heard. So that in that so they're given one more body which is not gross but not subtle also, meaning they are given a body which can actually experience suffering, but it's not gross, because subtle body doesn't experience all this suffering of heat, cold, etc., hunger and all that. So they are given a special body because now they are en route to Yamaraj, Yamaloka, Narakaloka. So only for those these things are all actually done, but otherwise there's no hovering business. Even that soul is not hovering, it's already on its en route. Yamarajas, Yamadutas would be taking that soul to Narakaloka.
So
So for
immediately, Prabhu, is it? I mean,
yeah, so as
so they
long
don't get any time to.
time to do what?
I mean, I don't. I mean,
What do you
time
want
to
to
do in the sense
what
like
do you
I
want to
was
do with
told
that
that
time?
at least for 11 days they will be around,
No,
just
no,
to watch, just to see, and then they leave. Then they're taken
no,
en
no, no,
route to
no, no.
the
That's
next.
not what I've heard.
Immediately, is it?
So
Okay.
yeah, yeah. See, that is why now it's saying now as soon as the cremation is done, they
Uh-huh.
already next body is identified. So if the person just has a next body, simple, doesn't have to go for naraka to punishment and all that, he will immediately get the next body.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, but this whole process is to assist those who are going towards naraka.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Okay. And what if the cremation is there,
Mm.
in our ways,
Mm.
and then
Mm.
some in other religion they bury the body.
Mm.
So
Mm.
what happens? I mean, is that
Same
still
process.
considered? Will the soul
Body.
still develop attachment for the body even though it is buried, or it has
No,
to be cremated?
no, or any other means, Prabhupada said, cremation or any other means.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah,
somehow or
so
other it is
body has to be just discarded. Basically, that's
okay.
what
Okay.
it is.
Discarded
I mean,
immediately.
see, it's like this, like all the relatives, everybody, they lose that attachment, right? When the body
Yeah.
is buried or cremated or whatever, that
Yes.
these relatives, they say Tata bye bye and go home, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
Correct.
then what will the soul do there? If at all it has to be there, it will be there till then. Oh, seeing all these, people crying, oh, see my kith and kin crying. But after that, what?
Hmm.
Everybody gone, they take bath and then they're back, right, to their
Yeah.
sense
Yes.
enjoyment. Who remembers? For how many days will people remember?
Immediately.
Um,
I mean, I've seen immediately couple of days.
yeah,
Life is as usual. Yes.
yeah, except for the very, very near and dear ones,
Yes.
maybe
Yes.
for some time, but
Mhm.
life moves on, goes on, right? So then the Atma also. So that is the time actually. Once that body is discarded, then it has no more attachment to the body. Body is gone. Now it can't
Mm.
enter that body. It's gone, right? So it has to go. No, it has to find another body. So it will go,
Mm.
even if
Okay.
there was some attachment. That's what we can infer.
Okay.
Okay. Vinod Prabhu is getting into too many details about post post death.
No,
Okay.
no, because I'm just thinking, what is because Prabhu, I mean, when you have the body, when you're in the body,
Mm.
there's so many things that people do, and
Yeah.
then they very stubborn in their own ways, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking, after leaving the body, I know they don't have much choice at that point of time, but
Mm.
at least if they're hovering around, right? So they're there, and then at least we wanted to do something that is very useful, right? So we were
Mm.
literally
No, no,
sitting
that
every
is
day.
there. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
That I didn't
So what
answer
is
that
that we
part.
can
So,
do for the soul at that point of time? I
oh
mean,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just talking from that standpoint, Prabhu.
No, that is
Yeah.
there are two things that actually one,
Uh,
if it is actually en route to hell, then that all that reading and all will also benefit, because the devotional
okay.
service done with the intent for that soul. It should be done with the
Mm.
intent to give
Yes,
some
yes, for
benefit to
that,
that soul.
for the soul
Other
only.
reason why these things are done is the people who are affected also should come out of ignorance. That's the reason why Bhagavad Gita,
Yes, 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 Prabhu.
second chapter and all that, right? So that you come to understand saying that I'm not the body, I'm soul, don't lament. Whoever
Yeah,
is
because
gone
that
is just
whole
a body.
reading really, because my dad was, I mean, yeah, we were also affected, but my dad was the one who was most affected by that,
Mm, mm.
and then it absolutely helped my father,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
recover from that.
yeah. Generally, in these situations, men can understand and pull out. Generally, it's very difficult for women. I've seen.
Mm.
Mm. Yeah. Yes, Vinod Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, this
Hmm.
is me. He
Hmm.
joined in my phone, I joined in his phone.
Yeah. Tell me.
Yeah, Prabhu. Actually, when my uncle passed away, so
Hmm.
I asked some Prabhuji who is a Brahman, I mean, he was a Pandit and also into Krishna conscious. He
Hmm.
found out from, some other person from Garuda Purana that, until 11 days, so a soul will be here only. And when they do, like, 11th day, that karma, 11th or 13th, then the soul is handed over into the hands of Yamadutas. And the
No, that's what
journey,
I'm saying.
11
That
months. Hmm.
that Yamaduta business is not for everybody.
Oh, okay, okay.
Why will
For
you go to
normal karmis.
Yamaduta? No, for
Karmis.
people who have done so much sin that they have to go to Narakaloka, that whole journey is only for those people.
Oh,
Otherwise,
really,
why is
Prabhu?
it required? Huh?
Isn't it like, everybody has to go to the court, I mean, Emirage court,
That
and
is
then they
that
justify
happens.
the.
That happens before we give up the body. That is the time when the decision is
Ah,
taken about which body you are going to enter. Now, for that, you don't have to
oh,
go to Narakaloka. That is a subtle presence that meeting that happens in front of Yamaraj and Chitragupta before we leaving the body. We understand that the
oh,
next body has to be
before.
decided. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Next body has to be decided before we give up this body. Otherwise, we can't.
Mm-hmm.
Where will we go? We can't keep hovering around. Which
Yeah,
is
in
why
those
Yamaraja
11.
came now. No,
Mm-hmm.
see, you can
Yeah.
understand. No, Yamaraja came now to tell those women saying that, hey, stop, right? Stop lamenting. Give that body. That body has to be cremated. That Atma is already has to go into another body. Time is getting over, right? There's
Okay.
no mention of 11 days and all here. That 11 days is clearly
Oh,
for those going to Narakaloka.
okay. And
Others would have already
everybody
gone.
will be doing something or the other, Papa, right? So they have to go to there and to go through that, and
No, no,
then
no,
the
no,
punya
no,
to heaven.
no,
And
no, no,
11 months, I mean, 28 narakas are there, and they have to go to
no,
whatever. Hmm?
no, no, no.
Okay.
Those who are going to Naraka are only those who have done so much mistakes that they can't suffer that in material in Bhumi. Suppose they are getting another
Oh,
body
okay.
on earth, they can't suffer that here because they've done so much sins. So
Okay.
then only such people are sent to Naraka.
Mm.
Right. So it's not that, and of course, see the nature of sin, etc. So many things are there to be considered, right? Like these are all rules which Yamaraja, Chitragupta only know. But generally, whatever we have heard is
Okay.
that generally a pious person doesn't go to hell, right? If he has done, everybody does mistakes, small mistakes. That is
Yes.
what we suffer in our life as suffering.
Uh-huh.
But some who
Okay.
have done excessive sins, like
Okay.
really
Okay.
sinful person, like for example, like yeah, eating meat all your life, right? These people will have
Yes.
to go to hell, right? So they will have to
Mm-hmm.
go to hell because of the amount of sins they have committed. So that way, in modern day, you can say everybody goes to hell, right? Because everybody eats
Right.
meat.
Right.
But yeah, previously it was not like that.
But they
There,
can't experience the whole Papa in the Naraka, and then they'll get body according to that to
no, no,
experience
they would
them.
have no. The way Prabhupada has explained it in other purports. So it says that actually they are they are punished to such an extent that they can prepare themselves to accept the next fallen material body. For example, if
Mm-hmm.
suppose say they are going to get a pig's body for the
Right.
nonsense they have done, they will be given enough punishment and mindset to accept that pig body and suffer.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
Prabhupada has
Okay.
talked about this in different purports. But anyway, see,
Okay.
I'm not an expert in this topic. It's a completely Garuda Purana thingy,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
yeah, Prabhupada is also described in fifth canto. Also, he's mentioned some aspects of this, and here and
Yes,
there,
sir.
like
About
here also now
20.
he's mentioned that immediately it has to be done like this. Yamaraja came, so a few things here and there we can add up and maybe make some sense. But yeah, ideally, somebody who is an expert in this, Garuda Purana, somebody who's studied Garuda Purana. I heard this from a devotee from Malaysia, who has actually had come to our temple and he was making a presentation on Garuda Purana. So I heard that the body is decided before, and that in that office of Yamaraja and Chitragupta, there are three doors. One is if Yamaraja tells to take one door, he knows that he has to go to heaven. If he takes another door, then he knows he has to go to hell. Then another door, he's going to come back to this bhumi. Right? So there are three doors, he was saying. So anyway, these things are described in.
Yeah, Prabhu. Actually, I have one more question. So when I read in the Rupa Manchi, some Prabhuji, he left his body in an accident and he became a devotee. And then after 11 months or something, he was given calculation.
I don't know about. I mean, whatever I know, I've told. I don't know much. Okay. Okay.
No,
Anything
Hare
else?
Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Okay, I can talk about what we can do when we are here, not what we can do after we are gone. So yeah, that's okay. Okay to be inquisitive. Yes. Okay. Anything else? Okay. So we'll close here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhu Bhyo Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Kodi Vaishnavandi ki jai, Samveda Gaura Bhakta ki jai. Hare Krishna.